Tracy is a certified master black belt, trained in lean enterprise and specializing in application of process improvement methodologies to non-manufacturing, service, and administrative processes. She advises companies on all aspects of Lean Six Sigma, such as organizational infrastructure, strategic planning, and process implementation. She has worked with companies such as Callaway Golf, DC Shoes, Charles Schwab, Univar, the Navy, Veterans Affairs, Motorola, and Shea Homes. She develops and delivers training material, facilitates training, coaches, and mentors champions, green belts and black belts. Tracy's Master Black Belt certification also includes mentoring teams of black belts to apply statistical tools and drive successful projects that have saved companies millions of dollars. Tracy's also collaborated with executives to help drive solid implementation plans, change management strategies, and select projects aligned to company strategy. She's trained over 1,000 people, mentored 200 plus green belts and or black belts, and helped close 200 plus Lean Six Sigma projects. She's been a very busy person. She's also has a black belt certification from General Electric and a master black belt certification from Pivotal Resources, as well as an MBA from Pepperdine University. Please welcome Tracy O'Rourke.
That's the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you. So I do a lot of traveling, and the biggest question I get is, what is Six Sigma? And what is that? So I'm going to spend a little time talking about what Lean Six Sigma is, then why companies are implementing it, why it's important for companies to have an initiative, and why you should care about that. What does it do for you as an individual? So obviously, it's important to know what companies want if you want to get a job, but it's also important, you know, because what does that really do for you as well? So I kind of put all that in there, and I'm going to try to cover it in 15 minutes. So here's just a little bit about me. Jack covered it, so you know, it's just basically some of the companies that I've helped. I started in this industry at GE, like he said. I was actually in sales, and they asked me to become a black belt because they wanted me to talk to GE customers, and they tried a few engineers in that role. It didn't really work out, so they thought it might be easier to train me how to talk about statistics rather than trying to teach a statistician how to talk to customers. That's not me, that's what they said. So, so it worked out pretty good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Lean, and again, this is a really high level of what it's about. It is under the process improvement umbrella. So what that means is you're trying to improve processes. And when I talk about processes, I'm talking about all kinds of processes in all kinds of industries. You can see that Jack had mentioned, I mean, I've been helping Callaway Golf, DC Shoes, financial services, the government. You can apply this anywhere. If you don't know the root cause to the problem, you can apply Six Sigma and Lean to it. And so that's really what you want to remember. How many of you have kids? Okay, are their grades failing? Root cause analysis, you can even apply it for that. So, I mean, I've talked to people about how you can apply this in almost every situation that you don't know the solution. How many of you have worked for companies that jump to solution? Don't know the root cause? Yes, this is why companies implement this, because they want their people to step back, don't jump to solution, analyze the data, although we all know that our managers are the first ones to jump to solution, right? So, so these two, Lean and Six Sigma, used to be sort of separate initiatives, if you will. Lean started at Toyota in the 40s, Six Sigma started at Motorola in the 80s, and just recently they've come together now to be a combined toolkit. So if I had to explain in a few words what the difference is between Lean and Six Sigma, Lean is really about identifying and eliminating wasteful activities and gaining speed in the process. So what is really what we call NVA in the process, non-value add to the customer, and how do we either eliminate or minimize that out of the process? And what's really value add? Are we measuring those things, and are we actually making an improvement? If we're not, if we don't know where we are with those things, what can we do to make improvements? So that's Lean. And then the premise of Six Sigma is more about identifying root causes and controlling variation and defects. So a different set of tools, and again, it's kind of simplified, it's really just what tool do you need to use out of your toolbox. So here is an example of some of the tools you might learn in Lean which is all of these things. You're doing your Gemba walks, you're doing a value stream map, you're looking at standard work and cell layouts, one-piece flow. If you don't know these things, it's okay. You should, that's why you might want to get more information on Lean. But these are all very valuable tools that really come from the Lean side of the house of process improvement. And then we've got things on the Six Sigma side like swim lane maps. MSA stands for Measurement Systems Analysis, histograms, root cause analysis, fishbone diagrams, design of experiments. How many of you guys have heard of some of this stuff before? How many of you have used some of this stuff before? Look at all those hands, see? So the common goals really are focusing on the customer. So that's one of the really nice things about this. A lot of people think that Lean means less employees are needed. Not true. That is so not true. I love my job, and I would not love it if it was about eliminating jobs. What it really is about is trying to cut the stuff that's really unnecessary. And so that's what these tools are for. They're eliminating the NVA, non-value add. Reducing variability, okay? So variability is just inconsistent processes. How many of you have been a customer of an inconsistent process before? Anybody ever try to get what are those loans called from the bank right now? From the home loan company, yeah, loan modification. How many of you have done that? Anyone? Yes. Don't do it. Oh, maybe you had a good experience. Okay, good for you, good for you. So reducing variability. Here's a good example. How many of you go to McDonald's for the food? We go there because it's fast, it's quick, we know what we're going to get, lots of minimized variation. Our cheeseburger will be the same no matter which McDonald's we go to in the entire country. Same with Starbucks, right? They have really good, consistent processes. And if you look, how many of you have ever worked at Starbucks? Anyone? Okay, so they've got, it's to the nth degree, right? Lots of processes and standardization. Increasing speed, reducing errors, and ultimately being more profitable. So those are the real big common goals of Lean and Six Sigma, and it's just expanding your toolkit on how to do that. Okay, here's an eye chart for you. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, because this is what will answer what is Six Sigma. So these are your Sigma levels on the left. You've got 1 Sigma, 3 Sigma, and 6 Sigma, for example. In the middle is DPMO. That stands for defects per million opportunities. And then you've got your yield over here, 99.9997%. So if you have a process that is 6 Sigma, that means you only have 3.4 defects per million opportunities. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you run a call center, and your goal is that every call will be answered in less than 1 ring. If that process is 6 Sigma, that means out of 1 million phone calls, only less than 4 will not get answered in 1 ring. That is a 6 Sigma process. That's pretty high quality, right? 3 Sigma, obviously not so good. So the best example that I like to give in terms of practicality between 6 Sigma and 3 Sigma is the airline industry. How many of you travel? How many of you have heard that traveling by air is the safest way to travel? Yeah. How many of you believe that? Okay, let me ask you this. When you get on a plane, how many of you feel confident that you will arrive at your destination alive? Pretty good, right? Yeah. So it's actually better than 6 Sigma. If you get on a plane, you have better than a 99.9997% chance of making it to your destination alive. So you should feel really good. It's very low probability that this will happen. As a matter of fact, I think USA Today announced that nobody died on any airlines last year. However, the airline luggage process is not a 6 Sigma process. It is a lot less than that, right? Which one do you think it is? 1, 2, 3, 4? What do you think?
25.
Okay, you were right. Sadly, it is 3 Sigma. It's still in the 90s. But what this means is that out of 1 million pieces of luggage, they will lose, misplace, misdirect, mishandle, or it will not arrive the same time as you, 66,807 times. Okay, so how many of you had a bad experience with your luggage? Look at that. Okay, how is it possible that it's only this many times, but this many people have had that bad experience? Why? Yeah, sometimes people travel a lot. Okay, just take a look at this. How many pieces of luggage come through LAX in one day? right? We're talking millions just at that one airport. So just magnify this 93%, 66,807 pieces of luggage, you know, over and over and over. We're talking millions of pieces of luggage getting processed. And that's why it hurts, right? That's why we feel it, because of that defects. So y'all feel more comfortable about what Six Sigma means?
Yes.
Pretty high quality, right? Okay. So sometimes quality is the reason why people do it. Sometimes it isn't. We're going to talk about that. Here's all the different kinds of companies that have helped. These are the people that I've just helped, okay? There's lots of other companies that are implementing Six Sigma. How many of you know of companies that have some sort of Lean or Six Sigma program? Okay. Sometimes they call it process excellence. Sometimes they call it operational excellence. You know, there's lots of different names for it because, again, some people don't like calling it Six Sigma because people go, what's Six Sigma? So anyway, oh, going the wrong way. So here's some of the reasons. I'm going to talk briefly about why companies want Six Sigma and why it's been at the forefront of many companies, especially large companies, but even small companies can do it too. Back in the old day, if companies wanted to make more money, all they did was they'd take the selling price and they'd increase it, right? Well, that'll make us more money, right? Well, what's wrong with that today? Too much competition. You cannot get away with that. You're going to lose business very quickly. We've got savvy shoppers, savvy consumers. They're not going to put up with it. So now the strategy is you can't increase the selling price. If you want to be more profitable, you got to take it out of your cost to produce. Operating expenses. And Six Sigma does that. Lean and Six Sigma do that. They are vehicles to reduce operating costs. And it's not necessarily to eliminate people. Okay, so it's about looking at the process and what can we do to minimize waste. Okay, so, you know, I always ask companies when I go in, why are you doing this? Is it to cut heads? Because I'm not your girl, if that's what it's for. Do they become more streamlined? Do they need less people sometimes? Absolutely. But what do you do with those people and what's the strategy? You know, you don't necessarily, I mean, if you did a Six Sigma project and then got laid off, what do you think is going to happen when you want to do a Six Sigma project with the next department? Nobody's signing up for that project. So it's really not, if they have an initiative like that, that is not the goal. Here's another reason why companies want to do it. This is actually the reason why Jack Welch implemented it at General Electric when I was there. Many companies, traditional quality costs, the cost of poor quality is expensive. So it's actually more expensive to have poor quality than good quality. And they say that about 10% of sales revenue is related to the cost of poor quality. And that's just the stuff you can capture. The problem is not all waste is captured. It's embedded or buried somewhere in cost of goods sold and you can't capture it. So in essence, really, additional costs of poor quality can equal 35% of sales. So let's think about that. If you're $1 million company, what's 35% of your sales?
Total profit margin.
Yeah, I mean, $350,000 is kind of a lot of money, right? So it could be a big amount of money. GE, it was in the billions of dollars. So just take any company, and if you've worked there, maybe you know they have really bad quality or really good quality. And so what do you know, even if you gauge it, 20%, what's 20% of sales revenue? Things that really, it's hard to measure, like change orders or retooling or expediting. How many of you have worked for a company that's like, get that out to the customer right now, whatever it takes? Expediting costs money. Set up slow processes, late deliveries. I'm sorry we screwed up here, here's a free product. All that stuff's waste, cost of poor quality. So how do we get rid of this? Because if you minimize the waste, you're going to improve how much you make in terms of profitability. That is the big reasons why companies want to implement it. Okay, here's some of the benefits. Ultimately drive profitability. But the nice thing about Six Sigma is it focuses on the customer. It says if you're going to improve processes, what does your customer want? And design those processes around what the customer wants first. And so that's really important. Being balanced, being efficient and effective is a big goal of Six Sigma. How do we be effective in the customer's eyes and be efficient in the pocketbook by giving them what they want inexpensively? So it's not, most companies feel like they have to do either or. Either we can make a lot of money or we have to satisfy our customer. You can do both, but you have to be very strategic about what is important in processes to get that balance. Empowering employees is a big deal. Lean Six Sigma you can't do Lean Six Sigma to people. They have to want to do it. And so the only way you can do that is collaborating with them, collaborating with people and helping them fix their processes instead of telling them how to fix their processes. That never works. Gaining a competitive advantage is another benefit for organizations, and then not jumping to solution, which is what we talked about already. So those are some of the benefits of why companies want to implement a Lean Six Sigma. So why should you care? So yes, you want to save companies money. That's great. But why, more importantly, individually, should you care about process improvement?
I can get a raise.
You can get a raise. That's true. You can make more money. And I don't have any statistics on, or nice studies, which I was like, God, that was a good slide. I should have got one of those too. Black belts can make anywhere from 65 to 85. Master black belts can make anywhere from 90 to 130. Green belts, usually green belts have a regular job, so you don't really see that as much. But here's some interesting statistics, and you may have seen these somewhere before. But the U.S. Department of Labor estimates that today's learners will have 10 to 14 jobs by the age of 38.
Whoa.
Okay, so no longer do we have a career for our entire life. So that's kind of, compelling. The top 10 in-demand jobs in 2010 did not exist in 2004. Okay, so we're moving in an exponential times. Things are moving very quickly. Jobs are being created, high-paying jobs too. The amount of new technical information is doubling every 2 years. So for students starting a 4-year technical degree, this means that half of what they learn in their first year of study will be outdated by their 3rd year of study. I'm not showing you this to depress you. I'm just saying, what does this really mean? And we're really moving very quickly these days. And how, as an individual, can you prepare for that kind of movement? We are currently preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented, in order to solve problems we don't even know are problems yet. So, that this is very, very, it should be a part of your decision making. So what does this all mean? Well, we live in exponential times. The only thing that is constant is change, right? And dealing with change will never become obsolete. And so process improvement is about changing things, making them better, and the cycle of continuous improvement. There will always be problems. You will always need to find the root causes to problems. That's never going to change. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So put that in your pocket. So, that really speaks to, pick something you're going to use no matter what you do, even if you're a mom. Because you can use process improvement. It's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of our world. Make sense?
Yep.
So y'all going to sign up for Lean Six Sigma now? Yeah. And that's it. That's all we got. So Jack, take it away.
Thank you, Tracy. What I wanted